Hollywood loves to lie to you. They sell you the myth of the good serial killer. We've all seen the show Dexter, the neat, organized forensic expert who targets the bad guys, following a strict moral code. But reality doesn't wear a neat shirt. Reality doesn't work in a lab. Reality is drenched in blood and smells like iron. Let me introduce you to the real-life Dexter. His name was Pedro Rodrigues Filho, and he didn't follow a polite code. He followed his absolute, uncontrollable rage. Pedro was born in Brazil in 1954, but his trauma started before he took his first breath. While his mother was pregnant, his father beat her so savagely that Pedro was born with a bruised, damaged skull. He was literally injected with violence in the womb. By the age of 13, he almost murdered his older cousin during a fight by pushing him into a sugarcane press. He didn't feel panic. He didn't feel guilt. He felt exactly what apex predators feel when they taste blood for the first time. Nothing. Pedro's first official kill happened when he was just 14 years old. His father worked as a school guard, but the deputy mayor of the town fired him, accusing him of stealing food from the school kitchen. Most 14-year-old boys would cry. Pedro took his grandfather's shotgun, walked up to the deputy mayor, and blew him away. But Pedro wasn't done. He soon discovered who the real thief was, another guard at the school. So, Pedro hunted him down and murdered him too, 2 bodies. And he wasn't even old enough to drive. He fled to the violent streets of Sao Paulo. He didn't hide in the shadows. He became the shadow. He started robbing the slums and murdering drug dealers, taking their money and their territories. To the corrupt police, he was a nuisance. To the terrified locals, he was a dark vigilante, a force of nature cleaning up the trash. Even monsters fall in love. In Sao Paulo, Pedro met a woman named Maria. For a brief moment, the raging fire in his head calmed down. They lived together. He thought he could have a life, but a local gang leader found out where Pedro lived. They didn't kill Pedro, they murdered Maria. They took the only thing he loved. And in return, he unleashed hell on earth. Pedro didn't just want revenge, he wanted an extermination. He found out the gang members were attending a local wedding. Pedro and 4 friends crashed the party. They didn't come to talk. They opened fire, turning the wedding into a slaughterhouse. Pedro personally hunted down the gang leader, executing him, and leaving 7 dead bodies bleeding on the dance floor. He was 18 years old, and he had already killed over a dozen people. But Pedro's absolute breaking point, the moment that cemented his legacy as a demon, came a few years later. While Pedro was building his mountain of corpses, his father was busy too. His father had taken a machete and brutally murdered Pedro's mother. Pedro loved his mother, and when he found out what his father did, he didn't call the police. He didn't wait for justice. Pedro visited his father in the local prison. Pedro walked into his father's cell. He didn't just stab the man 22 times. He took a knife, cut open his father's chest, reached his hands inside, ripped out a piece of his father's actual heart, chewed it, and spat it onto the cold prison floor. He ate the heart of the man who created him. Eventually, the law caught up to Pedro. On May 24, 1973, he was arrested and thrown into a maximum security prison. The guards thought they were locking a criminal away from society. But you don't lock an apex predator inside a cage full of prey. Inside that prison, Pedro became the executioner. He was surrounded by Brazil's worst monsters: rapists, child murderers, and gang leaders. Pedro looked at them and saw an all-you-can-eat buffet. If a prisoner snored too loudly, Pedro killed him. If a prisoner was a known rapist, Pedro slaughtered him in the shower. During his time in prison, he murdered 47 other inmates. His own sister's killer was locked in the same prison. Pedro found him and broke his neck without a second thought. His total kill count? Over 70 human beings. Some say it's closer to 100. Due to a loophole in Brazilian law at the time, a person could not be imprisoned for more than 30 years. Let that sink in. In 2007, the man who slaughtered 70 people walked out of the prison gates. A free man. He even started a YouTube channel warning young people to stay away from crime. He became a bizarre celebrity. To the poor, he was a twisted Batman. To the law, he was a rabid dog they couldn't put down. But karma is just as ruthless as a serial killer. In March 2023, the apex predator was finally hunted down. At 68 years old, Pedro was sitting outside a house in Sao Paulo. A black car pulled up. Masked men stepped out and opened fire. They shot him dead, and just to be sure, they slit his throat before driving away. I want you to ask yourself a terrifying question. If a monster only uses his teeth to tear apart other monsters, does that make him a hero? Or was he just another demon waiting to be sent back to hell?